All right. So let's talk about something else now. Okay. You have what's called reverse levels and reverse trends. This kind of falls in the same wheelhouse, the same umbrella of expectations, or what could be happening in a move, where something could go. We can't control what guy X wants to do if he's a millionaire or a billionaire, and you have a trend like this, and it breaks, and price moves up, or whatever the case may be. Actually, that wouldn't be the trend. It would be more like this right here to this right here. So that would lead you from this to this point right here, like so, which would adapt here on the 4, and anyways, and so forth. And then here on the hourly, right here on the hourly, actually that would be the 4, because that one would have been the 12, and then this would be the hourly, and then something like that, the 15, and then and so forth and so forth. Anyways, reverse trends work a bit differently. They work on higher time frames, and not always on higher time frames, but typically on higher time frames, from the bottom of one move to the top of the next, right? So what would happen here is you would go from the bottom of this candle here to the top of the move up, and that can give you kind of a total eclipsing point for the future. So let's go to XBT and do this maybe a little differently here on XBT. So, XBT, we all know the trend from here to here, right? Which would give you the bottom of this to the top of this one, which would be actually starting from here. So that can be the eclipsing. Oh, sorry, right here. That can be kind of the eclipsing point of this move, the bottom of this trend to the top of this move. Accumulation, the distribution to accumulation, always accumulation on the top side, which originally would have been here and then here. These are max points that a trade could possibly go. So here,
I just want to touch on this for a moment. When we use the backside of trends here, this is always to see the hard close of bigger time frames. So a common thing that need to be aware of is, like, I have this red trend here, and we're talking about the backside of a trend, and red, we know it's daily already. So we have to go to that moment and see if there's anything broken on the daily, active and non-active parts of the move, right? Like, this is still an active trend, and right now we are over top of that trend. Like, this is still active right now, right? If we were on this side of the trend, it would still be there, but it would be deactive, and there would be a new trend that we're using in that moment, possibly something localized, to see if that can develop on the ulterior time frame, or ulterior criteria. So, for example, if you are underneath this red trend, like, this would be in this moment an active trend right now when you're looking at the current space. This trend, of course, would not exist. And if you don't know what active and non-active trends are, you'll get it in mentorship as time goes on. Don't worry, we talked about that earlier in the butterfly effect mentorship. But those recordings get unlocked over time. They're all just time locked, right? Just so somebody can't come in and watch them all and then quit and reverse a payment or something silly. Um, this trend at this moment is non-active, right? It's not an active trend, but it is still on our chart. And then criteria is that this yellow is active. So you'll get into scenarios with backsides of trends where over the larger time frame, the trend is still there, and you are seeing two different things. You are seeing if this backtesting of this trend can hold because it is trying to establish a hard close on a lower time frame, right? And if you get into this moment where you have a trend like this that's holding and you're hard closing in this space, what's happening is this trend is being adapted to a different criteria, a different hard close criteria. The other scenario is that if you continuously go below this trend, right, you continuously go below this yellow trend here, you are now seeing if this yellow trend is going to be lost to reflect the actual loss of this trend as well. So you have a local trend here, which is a 4-hour. You hard close underneath it, but you haven't closed the daily. This interior trend is active. This is not active, but it's still on your chart. And then if you were to hard close this, that is going to cause both trends to kind of collapse. So, we use backsides very specifically as, are we hard closing the move? Are we actually hard closing that that level on the move, that part of the move?
it could be here, here,
You don't use them for anything else.
here, here. At this point here, you would be using a different trend, because you've already taken a move down. This would have been the kind of total eclipsing point right here. A reverse trend is just another spot where something can go when it's not defined by the bounds of a move. So
Yeah. So here, for example, you've lost the weekly, right? And possibly making the monthly underneath that. So possibly making a larger trend by back testing that, which is likely testing a point earlier in the chart. But then there's just the is it going to regain this trend on the higher time frame or no?
for example, in the future, if you were to move up past this point right here, the reverse trend is where it could possibly go. So you could possibly go something like this, for example. You could go like this, and then like this, and then like this, but then
Notice how sharp of a move this is. This was a key giveaway in reverse levels and trends. This was a key giveaway to show that this would have to move up in a very, very fast manner because it would be under the constraints of larger timeframes trying to make different trends or different parts of the move. So if you were back testing the backside of a trend, this would have to be very sharp like this, right? You would have to have a very quick move up because you would be too many candles and you're starting to develop bigger timeframes, which you wouldn't use this trend at all, right? You are back testing to see if this is lost or not. This is a pretty local trend, but it was just an example.
that would be kind of the final point, right? So that would be the kind of final point for a trade. Now, I don't typically use reverse trends, but you can. Like I see them used sometimes. SPX is a good one where a reverse trend was used. You can get rid of that. And I think it's the monthly it's used on this one, if memory serves me. Bottom of this to the top of this. So the bottom of the distribution.
This is kind of the same thing that we just did in that earlier example 2 seconds ago on Bitcoin. It would have to be a relatively sharp trend in order to do this, just because it is about different time frames.
To the top of the accumulation, right? And then that would have been moved to this point here, like that, giving you this point here, and then we don't have an accumulation candle. So this is the reverse trend. They're very simple. I don't teach them because they are rarely used. They're used to define the tops of moves when there's no other binding criteria that could possibly be there, right? So again, this falls into the same umbrella of assessing risk in a move and what you're willing to do with the move and the risk you're willing to assess on it, right? So bottom of the distribution to the top of the accumulation. So it would be here, adapt to here, which you can see that trend has followed pretty religiously there, probably coinciding with hold levels as well.
This should be looked at as a shortcut tactic, just like cycles. How I've been talking about cycles lately are a shortcut tactic as a means to show a different possibility tree. This should also be looked at as cycles from future trading, where it's a shortcut tactic and not something we use under a specific criteria. It's a shortcut tactic to reduce the amount of other possibilities that are actually happening as a move is decycling. So
well, but
reverse trends are very much so a shortcut tactic.
Anyways, which moves to the top of this move right here, which gives you that criteria binding there, and then this here, which gives you that criteria binding there. Again, falls under the umbrella of whether or not you want to trade it because it's not conventional. Something I don't frequently use, something I would very, very infrequently use on Bitcoin unless I was trying to find I would use the most aggressive reverse trend to find some type of point that I would be looking at buying. I wonder if there's anything else. We could try, you know what? I've never tried this on Ethereum. Let's try this on Ethereum USDT. I'm sure Ethereum hit some kind of silly high. Maybe we need to go Ethereum USD. BitMEX, that's contract. So maybe just this, yeah, you actually don't have it here either. You wouldn't because these are just too new in terms of maybe you could have it on a weekly chart where you're bottom of this,
No, I knew.
top of this candle here, right here.
Just don't trade them. It's a shortcut tactic.
And there's nothing above that. And then
an easier way to understand a deeper concept.
Bottom of this,
no, don't trade them.
Top of this. But at this point, you've got your hold levels being respected. So you wouldn't be using these. So this is an example where you wouldn't be using these.
Cycles from future of trading was a shortcut tactic to show a larger decision tree based on the theory of decycling. This is very much the same thing as reverse trends. They are just a shortcut tactic that represents something much more important. So, rather than using them and making mistakes, which has very no value in our trading world. They're a shortcut tactic.
Here, when there's no established base, you could use that right there. Bottom of this to the top of that gives you a criteria. And then if it were to continue to push up, it would go much past this. And then that would be the point where it would stop it there. Again, these are too new. Like, let's try Nike. Good chart on Nike. I'm not sure what it is. This is going to be almost the same as S&P 500 though. So, you know, it's going to be almost identical. Go to the top of this and bottom of this right here. Right there, like that. And so it gives you its final binding criteria, right? Where it can go within the realm of what it has, because this, you can see it's right here, right? First candle there. It doesn't have a criteria it can break above. This is it, right? So now you're here, right? Like you're all within the same reverse trend here. So this is a distribution to accumulation. You're all within the same reverse trend. Again, these reverse trends are only to be used when you're reaching all-time highs, because there is no other binding criteria that you could use. So what's going to stop the move is a reverse trend. If there's a level, it'll stop it. A trend won't. Not like this. This is, again, can't stress this enough. Only used when you're pushing the high of some kind of, you know, price. Like Tezos. What is this? XZT? I've never even looked at this one. So what is this one called? XZ. What is Tezos? I know this one is relatively popular. Let's take a look at this. Like where? No. Okay. So what is this ticker? XTZ USD. So what would be the legacy coin for this one? Calculated by TradingView? Hit BTC maybe? No, not really. Because this has information there. So this is the crypto space is a little tough for this, because XCT USD crack, maybe Kraken. So that goes 2018. This is 2019. No, that doesn't work. Okay, you know what? We will forget Tezos, because I'm not sure which ticker it would be, and this might actually be it. This might be the legs. I just know this one's pretty popular. What about Link? There's Link was Binance original, I believe. So distribution to accumulation. You see, so distribution, you can't use this. It's too aggressive. This is just too aggressive. But you can use this one, and that does give you the binding. Let's zoom in, make sure we're snapped properly here.
Yeah, and then you can tell that this is something that we can't use when
that does give you the binding
we're
criteria
using statements like, oh, you can't use this
move
because
could
it's too
go,
aggressive, right? If there's
And
not an
now you'd
explanation of
be
why
like this,
the exacts happen, it's just,
here,
you know, this is very much
right?
like the
Which
same
gives
thing
you
as
that
cycles.
bind,
It's
or
a
you would
shortcut
be
criteria
this
to a larger group of
this,
knowledge.
or
Because now you're just
this
kind of swinging
to
candles
this
around
for the
to
future. So
understand
very
them. But
simply,
it
you
can
have
be
your
a
original
shortcut
and
criteria.
your
But again,
current,
this
right? So this is a good example.
always was the
where
step into
a move
butterfly
can
effect too.
go when it doesn't have that criteria. So you use a replayer tool, and come on, why can't we do the replayer on this? Okay, that's fine. We'll do it this way. You have this right here showing you where this could go. The total cusp of the move, which is probably pretty close here. 510 down here at 26 cents. Where could this thing go? That's where it can top out at. And it actually does get.
I think rather than trying to find trades, that statement I made right there is exactly like the only value you can get out of it is where can it top out at. It can't really give you the buy spot, because it's more of like a where could it top out at type of scenario, because it represents a different set of knowledge, a different set of criteria. There's no value on doing this because there's no trades to be had there. Rather, you could use this to just say, where can something possibly top out at? I think that's very specific wording. Oops.
Relatively close to that. I can't go past it. It's as simple as that. I can't go past it. So this is a good example. Link.
A bounding box. It would be one way to look at it. Yep.
You can't do a 12-month, obviously, because there's no 12-month. It'd have to be like this to this, which wouldn't give you anything. I believe that was this one here. Yeah, it wouldn't give you anything. Just not enough time, right? This is why we can't use it in crypto, because there's not enough time. But it does give you kind of the bind on that side, which is an early way to create this on this side, right? Actually, you'd be right here, the first candle. to this. Come on. Accumulation to accumulation. So it's kind of the first sign of this being developed in the future, which is a different, another reverse trend, which is just accumulation to accumulation on the other side. So again, it's just to stress it one final time, and not a criteria I would use very often, but definitely something to be aware of, that there are these umbrellas of these different, all a part of risk assessment moves, right? And then also reverse level. So we're going to talk about that one now. XP.
And so that's kind of where you draw the line. A very quick little blurb on reverse trends, because they represent, it was a good way to put it. I knew they represent a bounding box. Nothing more outside of that than where could something go, although it could go above it and then hard close underneath it. So really, where does a trade exist? Because it's a very, very much a shortcut tactic to seeing a very different set of information. Just like cycles aren't actually an additive process. So let's talk about that for a second. And I think I've said this, but I want to make sure everybody understands this. We use decycling mathematics in day trading. So day trading, and the foundation of it has always been and always was built on what's called decycling. It's a mathematical formula. It's where you have vertices that get removed on the chart until you come to a final conclusion. Why it's called polarity, or why I call it polarity. Makes moments polarized to one of two outcome, very binary, 0 or 1. They polarize themselves into that final outcome, and then everything decycles. Now, when you're looking at cycles themselves in future of trading, cycles are very much an additive thought train. Like, oh, we were breaking a move, so we were adding a new piece. This is actually the wrong way to look at cycles. All that cycles are in future of trading is a shortcut method of the larger decision tree. So, for example, if you were to say, we have a cycle, it hits a number 1, it goes to a number 2, breaks that number 2. Oh, sorry. Hits a number 1, holds 2, breaks a 3, creates a 4, breaks a 4, creates a 5, breaks a 5. Every time you are stepping through those numbers in a cycle, all you are doing is getting to a specific criteria in that decision tree. So if you were to take all the kind of decision points before cycles from, say, like this moment here, on this for a second, this moment here, your decision tree is going to be fairly large. There's going to be a lot of different outcomes. If y equals yes, then y.1 is true. If y.1 is true, then your options are y.1a or b. If y.1b is true, then you are now faced with y.1b, true or false, which will create ABA, ABB, ABC, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at cycles, you would think, okay, this is counterintuitive, because cycles are actually additive, because you are adding parts to your chart. You hit this bottom, that, you create a trend, you break it, you are now additively moving your chart. Actually, this would be incorrect. Those measurements were always there against this to begin with. What you are doing, though, is you are putting it into a formula where you are saying, what is the easiest way to communicate this to people without having to go through a process of thousands of these vertices to say, okay, the possibilities from here, it could hit this, it could go like that, it could also be down here, and it could go like that, it could have gone here, moved up here. These are all different possibility trees. So you just make a very simple shortcut tool, especially for the level where future of trading was at the time. You make a very simple shortcut tool, and cycles just represent that larger decision tree. And the outcomes, as they were kind of umbrellaed. So if there were 5,000 possible outcomes or vertices from this point, then you would have cycle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, equally representing like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they all might not be exactly 1,000, but I'm just using that as quick math to follow the theory. They would all roughly represent 1,000 different vertices and possibilities down this larger decision tree. And the larger your tree is, and that's kind of an interesting thing about cycles in future of trading, is I say sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 8. The larger the decision tree, the more cycles something will go through. While this may feel counterintuitive, because cycles are an additive process, it is just a shortcut tool, so that you're not sitting there going through this decision tree like some kind of algorithm. Your brain would be fried. I can't do it. Nobody can. It's like, we do it on the fly. We don't get a notepad and paper and start drawing formulas. The formula is created, it's workable, and we create tools to kind of move through it in just a smarter way, right? So cycles is very much like why a 6, 7, or an 8 can exist is onset by the amount of possibilities from here to here. So the range possibilities is a good thing to kind of understand, that a cycle in a move, the bigger and the more vertices that can exist, the longer the cycle is going to be. So it's a preset to determine accumulation cycles. When people use that word, something's an accumulation, there's a way to understand how long that accumulation cycle can be. So how I find some of these breakouts on these coins is I understand a very deep way how long an accumulation can be based on the amount of vertices it could have, because then in theory it would have to have more vertices on the chart, which is a bigger decision tree, which means that it's going to have to go through more of these kind of points, right? So cycles is not additive. And this would be kind of the same thing where you're using an additive measurement. This is simply a shortcut tool. I only spent a few minutes on it, and just give something to keep people's minds open to, as just like as Inuk said, more of a bounding box, right? So just want to make very clear on that that idea that everything in this market decycles is important to realize. And anytime there is anything additive, it is a shortcut tool. So whenever we use additive math, it is typically a shortcut tool for a larger decision tree that was preset before it, but then there's not a value in having 8,000 points when you can create a system that's going to be within 99% accuracy and save you 99% of the work. The ratio of energy exchanged in return for results doesn't equate. It wouldn't even equate if it was a 50-50, just as kind of like gambler's fallacy numbers. It wouldn't even equate if it was 50-50. It's not even 50-50. It's 99 and 99 to 1 and 1, because the amount of energy in return that you get out of that is extremely valueless. So very important to understand everything we do in day trading decycles. From the moment the day trading charts were first created, it created an umbrella of time, and time was the first mathematical measurement on the chart. We can never move backwards in time. Therefore, it can never be an additive process because we cannot add time. We can only move through time and forward, which gives us new points. And when those new points are created, you are never moving backwards in time at those moments. You are actually only moving forwards and decycling the information that is put on the chart from that moment. So time was the preset to the mathematical formula that was used back when these day trading charts were first created, because it was the mathematicians or data scientists or whatever they called themselves back then, in my opinion, that created all of this, which is, I don't think anybody would argue that, but maybe if people have different theories, that's why we call them theories, because nobody really knows, right? So anyways, everything decycles, and that is very much what reverse trends are. Are they a shortcut tool to not having to get into a deeper breadth of information?
XBT, sure, XBT, why not? Go back to here. Let's find the base of a move. It looks like this is the base of a move right here. There's no reverse levels in play there. A reverse level is any point. So this is something we've already kind of learned, but to put a label on it, a reverse level is any point that can ladder a move, right? So for example, you have ladder 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Be careful on the wording here, because saying it's any point that can ladder the move would be kind of incorrect, but not really. But for teaching standards, these will all fall under different time frames. So just be careful with that. Don't take that too literally, because sometimes I have to teach it in a way that makes sense to learn it, and not a one-to-one perfect identification of what it is, but 90% accurate. Because actually then, if you just looking at this chart, this would be a reverse level of a bigger time frame, possibly here, or it could possibly be here. So you just kind of have to mark every ladder point as you're teaching this.
7, 8, 9, and so forth, right? That's fine. That's fine for now. We can delete the L. We don't need the L, and we're going to delete this. So it's just one stroke as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in this move, you are going to have points that you ladder this move, right? So we're going to go to here. Take a look at this. Where can this ladder, right? Maybe we'll just break it down to 5-minute time frames, just because it's we don't want to go too overboard and do this. Should be the second ladder point. Hit play. It's not, because this should have been the second ladder point in the moment. Is there a 1 minute here? There's no 1 minute. So there's actually no 1 minute time frame here. The 1 minute is down here. So technically the 2 should have been created on this level, but it's not. It's actually created right here. This is a point where a reverse level is used, right? Because this should be where it ladders. So let's go back to the time frame it was created on.
So actually, Luke, you asked the mathematics of decycling. Are there any books or papers you're aware of that can help us gain a deeper perspective / understanding on this theory? So decycling actually isn't something in the English language. Like if you were to Google the word decycling, It's not a real word. The source or whatever will try to correct you. But actually, it's a mathematical term. So if you Google decycling, you will see that decycling is actually a term that's used in math. So if you want to learn more about decycling, you have to look in the world of math, because this is not an actual English word. Rather, it's a term that's used in mathematics to describe something.
I think it was a 5. It wasn't a 3, was it? It was a 5. So this should be the time frame it's created on, which it tries to create on this. And a reverse level is part of that range.
Google mathematics, and this is what you have. The removals of cycles from a graph, describing the smallest number of vertices that can be removed from a graph such that no cycles remain, therefore leaving you with polarity. Removing vertices on a chart until nothing exists.
That is anywhere between the top of that to the bottom of that candle. So a reverse level can exist anywhere in here. So if you were to actually go in here and start looking at the bases of candles on different time frames, that's where you're going to find them. So there's one right there, right? This is any part of that range that's between this and that can technically still ladder the move. So that's important to understand. The brass tacks here is that if this was 2 on a smaller time frame and this is 3, but on a much larger time frame, this is the 2 and the 3 ladder can exist off of anything that will ladder this move. So if the ladder is 1, 2, this is the level, it can ladder it off of anything between that range. So it can ladder it off of the bottom of it, right? It's another form of deep diving, or it's how sometimes deep diving is established. It can ladder it off the bottom, it can ladder it off the hold level. Here it's the hold level. So I had marked it as this before, but it was just because I was misclicking it to the hold level. So this is a hold level on one time frame, but a reverse level on the other time frame. So now we're going to do this one here. So this was laddering maybe off of 15. Where is this? 15 is there. No, maybe it's a 5-minute. Backside 5? No. Higher valley, maybe? Let's find the level so that we can know where it's, no. So where's the hourly here, maybe? No hourly. Did we just check the 5-minute?
I think we actually did have an hourly there. I think I skipped through it too fast.
We did that one. Which one were we looking at? I think it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah, the third ladder point. Okay. So that's fine. Right here. So the backside of the valley, right? So you've got either this or that, right?
And we've talked about this, origin points that break out the move.
And then it should,
deep
dive down into the front side of this somewhere. So let's see what it does. So we've got ladder 1 and 2 accounted for. That's fine.
So now you're just going deeper in the range. We've been working a lot in that, going deeper in the range, combination levels and things like that. Now this is what you're seeing here, because originally this would have been an origin point dating back to here. It looks like what would have been an origin point, and then you're deeper in the range.
Really, it should go down to here, should it not? Like our expectation would be here, which is all a part of also where your expected buys are, right? So it should be this one right here. This is the second ladder. 1 and 2 are accounted for. You're looking for the third ladder, which should be here, but that doesn't mean it can't be, for example, the backside of a smaller time frame. As long as it exists within this range, there's a reverse level in there somewhere. So something that will fall between the criteria that can establish the hold level. So kind of like what we talked about before, where you have maybe the greediest level doesn't get hit, which is 90-64. But then you have backside, front side combination. This would just be the reverse level of a ladder, right? So when you're looking at
assumingly this is just a higher time frame being reversed.
This is hard to account for, because you have to realize it can be anywhere between this range here, the top of this move, and the bottom of this move, right? Like so.
And that statement there can be anywhere between these two ranges. Another kind of hidden Easter egg as we go into butterfly effect too, because now you're starting to talk about combination levels, right?
It can be anywhere between the greediest point at 90-64 to create the next piece of the ladder. The highest point here, which actually makes this 4 not even exist, because this 4 actually turns into a 3 right here. And the 3 actually goes after the backside, front side, which can be any level inside of here. So a reverse level is anything inside.
Reverse level on the higher time frame, combination level on the lower. If this is indeed a reverse. We don't know that yet, because we're just kind of trying to build out the expectation here, and we haven't actually checked the other time frames. But if this is indeed a reverse level, you can still hold that level under the criteria of combinations.
Out of the range. It could be here, for example. It could be the backside of this. It could be here. The key thing
Can't
about this
possibly
is
know until you go
understanding
into a higher
that
time
this
frame
is the new hold level, just like what we had
and
talked
work
about, where you're
down.
not necessarily going to the greediest level. You're going to the next hold that's getting created off of that. So as this were to be 1 right here, this will now be 2, which should have given you this, but it deep dives that, which makes your new ladder point here, 3, which gives you your next hold level there. Again, expectation of this should be hit while you've seen what's being held in the move. So now your new hold level is this. And it might have actually just been this right here. So if this continued to hold the move, that might have just been it, but it doesn't. It actually goes after the greedier part of its move, right? Which gives you 3, which gives you this is your 4, right here, which again, you'd expect the greediest part of the move to be here. It's not. It actually holds here. And then its next greediest entry is here, which actually also doesn't get hit. So now you're getting the trail of trying to find the greediest parts of the move. And look, you never actually get there, right? You're trying to find the greediest parts of the move. So it actually gets hit here. Again, going back to the previous, right? Right here, the 15-minute does get hit, right? So people would have missed that, which gives you your entry point inside of here somewhere before a large move up. So if you were to go to
Pop
here and
quiz.
start with the 1 minute.
What is this level here? This guy right here. What is that? Can't see on screen. This here or this here. It can be one level on a higher time frame. What is it? I don't think I knew Canalian. I don't think you guys will know this, but maybe. Maybe. I think we talked about this before you guys came, but maybe you might. Let's see what you got. 4 Acres coming with the answer hot. I know he knows what this is. Swing and a miss for Inuk. Could be this on this time frame, or it could be this on a higher time frame. Likely going to be this right here on the higher time frame. There we go.
Right here, the 15-minute does get
Dak
hit,
officially won.
right? So
First to say
people
floating level.
that, which gives you your entry point inside of here.
What makes this a floating level? Next question. Why is this a floating level all of a sudden? Nothing supporting it? Nope. Had it typed out but chickened out. When in doubt, type floating level since you haven't learned about it, right? Establish a range break? No. Get out of the move? No. No. Create a ladder? No. No. Not because it held off one. No, the distribution? No. No. No previous test. Distribution? No. Let's see. IC hasn't typed anything. This is going to be good. This will be the last guess. Pressure's on IC. Hopefully hits enter before my stream delay kicks in. It's a 2-word answer. Interior trend. Interior trend is created. You have a floating level. Remember that for the future when we go over floating levels. Interior trend. Well, we talked about this in the past actually, but we haven't officially learned floating levels. So you should actually be okay to be not 100% aware of all the criteria, but we have talked about that interior trend as being the onset creator of a floating level.
Here somewhere before a large move up. So if you were to go to
Great
here,
guesses,
for
everybody.
1 minute, you actually don't even get entry, do you?
Interior trend. First
You
criteria of creating a
get
floating level.
You get one entry on this move. Try to find it. Yeah, it's right here. The 3
Cannot create a floating level without an interior
I wonder
trend.
if it's a 5 minute actually. Kind of looks like a 5 minute. Yeah, 5 minute.
Floating levels create your next ranges. Or I should say, floating levels create future ranges, not your next range, because next actually would be inaccurate because it's not necessarily going to be the next because it could be reversed.
Yeah, again, a reverse level, to understand reverse levels, you first have to understand
future range would be the right way to say that.
Off of different points and not just the greediest point. And then that point can
we go over floating levels and butterfly effect too, so no worries.
Range, right? So
but they are definitely very cool.
From here,
the range
here,
creators.
It's not always going to go after the greediest level. If this were G, you have the backside. You have the greediest level here, which is also known as the friend side. And then you have some kind of combination level, backside, front side, BF, backside, front side, best friend. Your backside, front side level, which this is the reverse levels exist in here. So identifying a reverse level is understanding that as long as it's laddering off of this greediest point, you then have to start to develop the architecture to see, oh, it actually laddered off this piece of the move, making this the next best entry. So your entry is here or here, as we saw walking through this. So a reverse level is the level that will hold the move. So we kind of went through this twice in a way, but now we're giving it a strict definition so that it's not just, oh, we've got, if it hits when you say it hit a reverse level, you should know and understand that it didn't go after the greediest level, but it laddered the move. So it's a combining of all things that we've talked about, which we broke it down in a simplistic way at the beginning of this lesson. But now we're giving it a name so that we understand. It's the level that gets hit prior to the greediest. So it's a little different. Let me delete these brush strokes and I'll demonstrate it. So for example, if this is the new greediest level, right? So this our expectation was down here, right? But then it creates the new greediest point. So if this was the greediest point right here, right? And that never gets there, this is the reverse level. So this right here is the reverse level. And then our new greediest point is developed off of the reverse level, which is here. So this is what we called earlier in this lesson, kind of the expected level, right? So the expected level that was hit, or yeah, this was the expected level that was hit. This is the new greediest point. This is the reverse level. So we're going to go expected level. So expected EL, fine. That we don't need to use that term. Well, you can if you want.
We don't use that term.
This is just what you expected to get.
Teaching tool.
The level that was expected to get
hit. What would you expect? There's
gives
no such
you the
thing
new
as
greediest
EL,
level, which is the new greediest point in the trade, which is right here. The reverse level gives you the greediest level right here. So when you have the new greediest point that gets hit, that's because a reverse level was hit. So the reverse level is the higher time frame hold that actually held the move, also typically known as a backside or a front side, but understanding it as a reverse level lets you understand that the next trade that's happening is the greediest point off of that reverse level. So the ladder from that reverse level to this, right? So a reverse level, again, is anything inside the range. If you were to delete all of these and find another one.
So there's 3 lessons on this. So you kind of have to wait to the end to get, ultimate clarity because it's part of one lesson. But
technically hit this down here. Never does. Should hit something like this down there. Never does. Instead, what does it go after? This right here, I think. Seems about right. Let's take a look at the higher time frame.
See, working backwards seems about right.
Level,
that's what we get statements like that when we work up in time.
Right here, right?
Seems about right.
So this is the reverse level in the trade, or something that actually happens. Where's the hourly here? Hourly there. There, that hasn't been hit. We might be too far up in the move right now to see this. Let's try smaller time frames because I don't think you're going to be able to see it there. This is what was supposed to get hit. There's one. This is what's supposed to get hit, right? What actually gets hit, which is supposed to be this, but actually goes after this right here. Which gives you your greediest entry off of this right there, right? So this was supposed to be hit, and maybe we should even trail this back further. So this one is supposed to be hit, actually. We'll trail this back further because actually we misidentified it as the top. This, so now we have to go back to the 5, which gives you this here. So this is what was actually hit, which gives you the greediest point off of its hold level, right? So this right here should be the entry on the trade. That was never hit, right? So we can just delete that. This is the actual level that's hit, the backside there. And I wonder if there's anything on the smaller on the 3 minute. I don't think so, but I think it's the same level. It is. So that gives you the trade right here, right? So this would be the reverse level, and that's your entry right there. Breaks above it a bit, 91.61, breaks it above it before falling down. And the fall isn't that great, but that's, fine. It's just an example for this. The fall isn't that big. I think it's like 50 points, 40 points.
So let's just make something clear. This is 3 different parts, 73, 74, 75. So I'll give a quick answer to your question here, George, but just for everybody to understand, this would be like asking questions like mid-lecture, like after we get through this, you'll have most of your questions answered. But anyways, no harm in tackling your question here, George. So reverse level is a level that holds the move. Basically, it's the hold level that holds up the move, not the greediest. Yeah, and that's where if you were to stop watching, that's why there's a 1, 2, 3 here. It's just for YouTube. I just break them up into smaller, more digestible pieces, but it's all part of one lesson. So a reverse level would be something like this, where you go through the level and you can come back and test that level again in the future. So just, I do talk about that in here in 74 or 75, but just, yeah, don't go forward watching this lesson. Don't say, we don't say a reverse level. So a reverse level is the level that holds the move. Depends what you mean by holds the move. So basically it's a hold level that holds up the move that is not the greediest. No. If you have a hold level broken through, like this is a 4 hour here. If you have a hold level broken through, because it has ladder deeper in the range, it can come back and test that again as a reverse level. It's continuously testing that same range, but it's laddering off it. So I guess laddering in a way would be the correct way to put it, but it's laddering not the exterior component of the chart, but the interior component of the current test. That makes sense. Hopefully that helps, George. I think that should help. I'm not 100% sure if that helps, if that's the answer you're looking for, but I hope that helps. Anywhere it can ladder under the ladder point? No. Where's my tool? This, for example, can be a reverse level for the future because it's just broken through it, and then it can ladder that level. So maybe this is what you're talking about, I knew. It can ladder that level. A reverse level can indeed ladder it. Yes. Anywhere it can ladder under the ladder point. Anywhere it can ladder under the ladder. The deep diving greedier into the. Yeah, so it would not necessarily be deep diving. It might just be going after the next level based on a queue of larger reverse levels happening or more interior reverse levels in different ranges. You kind of have to go through your range to find that. But then if you have, say, like a daily level, or just pick something that's already established, like here, for example, daily level, it breaks right through it because it's going after something deeper in the range, right? If it's going after something deeper in the range, then you kind of have to start asking yourself the question of, okay, this can be a reverse level for the future because it can still ladder this point, right? So it's not testing that, it's testing some other criteria. Maybe it was testing an origin right here. It's not actually testing this level yet, but it has to ladder off this point. So then you have the same test of that level right here, and that's a reverse level because it has broken through it and it can still ladder the move. So I think, I don't know if I understand the wording, but I think that will make sense, Inuk, yeah. Hopefully, and same, George, I think that should make sense. Because this could be just testing the origin point, right? Like this could be testing something in a smaller range, or it could be back testing this to see if it can hold. Like this level was holding. This was the breakout level, which is onset from an origin back here somewhere, right? Like this origin is onset back in here somewhere in this time frame. Wherever it is, it could be here. I'm not going to go through the chart and find it, but it could be anywhere in here, right? Anything that's not hard close, and none of this stuff is hard close. So, indeed, it could even be an origin level from this part of the move right here, like S origin level. Whatever breaks it out, right? Whatever breaks out this move can hold it up. So this indeed could be testing to hold that breakout from back here, that origin, as testing it for the first time. And then this daily level would have already been tested, but then you have to ladder off this. So it could actually test anywhere from here to here kind of thing. So it's kind of identifying, like with reverse levels, is about proper identification of what's actually being tested. Because if you had it like this, we're going to make this dashed for inverse. Oh, no, sorry, dashed for origin, dotted for reverse. So if it was actually testing this as an origin, and you have this level marked here, there's a big difference here between, oh, no, hold on. I'll make this one solid. There's a big difference here between understanding, is it testing that breakout point from the past, or in that same moment, is it testing this actual level, right? So if it's testing the actual level, can't really reverse the move. If it hasn't tested the level and it is indeed back testing like an origin point or something like that, it can test that level. So it hasn't tested this level yet. It has to test this first, which can make this a reverse because it's kind of misleading, because you would miss something and you'd say, oh, here's the level right here, right? And the backside is already tested through, and you'd move down here and say, well, this daily's tested, but it actually wasn't. It was testing that breakout. So proper identification of what's being tested is important, because then this can be a reverse level. It can be either from the backside here, right? It can be from the backside here, which could be right there, depending on how the time frames look as we go down. This is actually a 4 hour, so this should be yellow, not red, but anyways, it doesn't matter. And it can test this level, but it has to ladder this move, right? Have to be stronger than what it originally tested. You mean stronger as in time frame up? Is that what you mean when you say stronger, Dak? The key about reverse levels is identifying what was actually tested. That's your golden bullet when it comes to reverse levels, is understanding what is actually tested in a move. No need to watch BFE2. Yeah, for sure, dude. I love that comment. Try to find another spot. It's about identifying what is being tested, right? It's about identifying what's being tested. This would be a good spot to say, is it actually testing this inverse level, or is this going after an origin from back here? So it's always important to make that distinction and draw that line in the sand to say, what is actually being tested here? Where's the breakout? Because if you say that breakout is here, you would be mistaken. This can break out to that origin level. And then this would even do an injustice, because you would need to actually go back into here and see what's happening. Yeah, this can't be an origin level right here, right? Because if it was, it would have been broken right there. This can be right here. Possibly an origin level. No, it can't be. Broken. And then there's nothing higher than this, right? So you actually don't have any origins. Maybe this on the hourly, but I'm assuming that would be broken in that candle as well. But that can't be the origin. If the 4 hour time frame, what we're on, is the only thing in play, could this be an origin? Can indeed. So will this go to see if it can hold this move? Yes, it will. Got an origin level. What looks like the daily is tested. Oh, we're testing the daily. Nope, you're actually testing the origin, which can mean this can still be tested. So almost use reverse as an idea in your head of, it's actually not, you could umbrella and combine the term reverse level with future BFE2 things that we discuss. It's about identifying which level, because then you'd say, oh, isn't this the kind of the same thing as a reverse level? Yes, but we haven't gotten that far yet. So you could actually kind of combine reverse level just under the umbrella of understanding which level is being tested. We'll show you kind of what level's next. Because indeed, this wasn't actually testing this. This was likely testing this origin point. And that means this can still ladder the move in the future, right? Like this little bit of a tester here can still ladder the move in the future. So it's more important about when you understand reverse levels. We call them reverse levels at the end of butterfly effect 1, and that's a really good anchor point for people to get it. But more so, the hidden gold there is understanding the trail of levels that's being tested. Like if you've ever watched me chart or stream, you'll see me go through and try to find, oh, this 5-minute level was tested. There's this, the logical thing. This 5 was tested here, which means probably this one was tested back here. So then now you're up here at this 5, which means this 5 will be tested right here through in the future. Great, now you're here, which means this 5 will be tested. So what I'm doing when I'm doing that is I'm understanding what levels are actually the ones that are being tested, right? And why we work time frame down, because it's more important to, well, for many reasons we work time frame down. But anyways, with everything we do, there's always a better way to do it, which is time frame down, because then you wouldn't be looking up and breaking the work you've already done. It would kind of be like doing your homework twice, right? Okay, let's take a 2-minute break. An untested hold level exists. Yes. So, for example, there's that 4-hour thingy. Where is that on? This one right here. This, not retesting this level, because this was likely testing the ladder point, which was deep diving this to find the greediest part of that RA. So if you RA'd this move, this could possibly be testing the 10. It doesn't mean this level is tested. So I wouldn't use that terminology, retesting the same level. Because who's to say didn't backtest this hourly? Because this tested something inside of here. It's about following the trail. I don't know if we're going to have this much candles. Well, we should on a 50. So what was this testing? Was this testing this 15-minute level? Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, sneezed. Excuse me. So was this 4-hour level actually being tested? I know I have this red. I really shouldn't. This is supposed to be the other one. So was this 4-hour level actually being tested here? Or are you testing the hourly? And was this hourly level actually being tested, or are you testing the 15? So are you actually testing this 4-hour? That's why I call them reverse levels, because it's just kind of going back into a reverse criteria. But less important of just labeling at a level that's been moved through. And the more important piece is understanding what has been tested and what trail is being followed. Hopefully that one helps. That should clear it up. Actually, in retesting a broken original level. Therefore, price action, same level. Test the whole mistake that was being tested in the first place. Yes. So reverse level is a really nice way to put it. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's why I kind of was alluding to the fact that like a reverse level could actually just be lumped into another term, because it wouldn't actually be kind of this independent level that we create. Rather, it's just like a nice term to put on something where you're saying, okay, well, you have to follow a very specific trail to see which level is actually being tested. And then I just go back to like my live examples when I'm finding these things live, like we do that constantly all the time. And, we're finding these things live and I'm looking through timeframes to see what's actually been tested, to see kind of what's been untested and what's left in those ranges. And saying it's a reverse level is just like a really good term to use to help people kind of bridge into that understanding that it's happening somewhere from the reverse, right? Like it's a reverse level. It's already gone through like a reverse part of the chart, right? So, this level here, if you were looking at this with green eyes, like brand new eyes, you would, this one here. You would go here and you'd be like, oh, it's before this, so it's reverse, right? Like that's just a really nice way to put it to point people's eyes in the right direction. But then really the golden information here is understanding what trail it's following, because then indeed, like you could go and test this backside next in the future here. So like your test chain could go like this, if it was to ladder the move, and you'd say, oh, this backside level is continuously being held. All right, so it's a reverse level. That would just be kind of a nice way to put it to help people understand you need to point your eyes further back, because it's behind this one, so it's like going back into reverse, right? There's a really nice term to help understand like where to look for that level, and less specifically we call it a reverse level, because although we may call them reverse levels, it just kind of more describes where we need to look instead of actually being a level. And then exactly like Einik said, but really ultimately it's just an untested level. Exactly. Hopefully that helps. I think that should anyways. Sometimes I do find it difficult to determine what was the first tested. Let's say 3 similar tests. Just have to use logic first, such as first test point. Yep, absolutely. Really important to identifying like where that trail exists and what is next. Like if you were to mark this one here, just mark your next one on the screen. If you were to mark this one here, you would say, oh, what is it actually testing? Is it testing some kind of like localized origin breakout here? And if that's true, then couldn't it test the backside valley, which looks like it would start right here next? It could test that backside valley. Then like you could break this range down and see like where this like why does this ladder point exist, would be what I ask myself. Like what is it testing here that exists? So you'd have to break this time frame down and see, because this is pretty small. Like you've got 5 candles, but inside of there's going to be a bunch of stuff that you're actually testing, like some kind of queue of events that you go through. And was this like the larger backside? So did it indeed test this origin breakout, local origin, or maybe a front side to a backside range right here? Like was this right here the front side, and inside of there was a combination level it was tested, meaning that this reverse would be next? Or again, call it reverse. But is this actually a reverse level? No, it's just the backside to what hasn't been tested. So then you're here and you're like, oh, it's testing the 4-hour front side. It must have held that 4-hour front side right here. And then it goes deeper in its range to here, which you'd be like, oh, okay. Right? So then you're really understanding that queue of what's being tested is important. And less about just kind of snapping candles here and being like, oh, that's the next level tested. Why does this ladder point exist, quote unquote? I think this is a perfect thing to think about when looking for untested and reverse levels. Yeah. The term reverse levels, like I said this very early in the session, it could be almost amalgamated into another term, because it's not really a level type. It's just more of a description to where to look. Now we boogie on. You do indeed boogie, yep. Oh, sorry, I don't have that.
Like a random spot. Maybe go to a bit of a bigger time frame here. Yeah, okay, sure. We'll look at this right here. This looks good. Kind of pick a spot, and this looks like a good candidate to start with right here. Start following the trail of building these levels out, right? So you've got,
there it is right there. Start following the trail, building these levels out.
Whatever this is here, test that there. That's fine.
So now, before moving forward, you could actually indeed go to a larger time frame here. 5-minute, you could go to like an hourly, and you could find the body wherever that body is. And now you could say, I could test the body of the hourly if it can ladder the move and it's the next untested level, right?
That would have tested this back here. That ladders to there. That's perfectly fine.
So really right now, just trying to find
inside of here
where the ladders are, right?
That's where we're going to start. So we need to actually find the level first off that was tested, the actual level itself. So
identifying
you've
what was
got
properly
a
tested
3 minute
first.
here, and we're going to mark these today just to have a little bit of clarity. So we're just going to mark it like this. 3 is right there. So you see the little 3 right there. And I'm not going to worry about the colors or anything like this here right now. Just gray is fine for today. And so you've got a 1 minute there, a 3 minute there, and that's fine. We'll mark this one here as a 1. And this might not.
So now you're really getting into the nitty gritty of dissecting a deep dive and finding the exact spot that's tested. Did something deep dive, or is it creating information that we need going forth, right?
Be relevant, but we
Might
do
be
need to
small,
build this
but those
trace to
small details
explain
matter.
these levels. So we're going to go to the 15-minute level here. Here's the 15. 15, and we are going to, because this is actually most likely going to be a reverse level here. So reverse levels, we've talked about them a bit in the past and how they are levels that we can make sense of and expect something to get hit from the past, right? So we go past a hold level and we go after something. So reverse levels are going to be a combination between deep diving, laddering, base points. So we'll start with base points. Interestingly enough, in the past, we've talked about base points, how you hit a level like this, you deep dive that base point, and then you come back and hit that level again, right? Creating the base of a move. So this would have created the base of
Also
a move,
known as the
therefore
origin,
giving it a large breakout
like a
point,
hidden
right?
origin
Like almost
inside
as an
of
origin
tests.
level breaks out, a base point has a large breakout, holds up a range, right? Bases of moves are based a lot of the times on these reverse levels. So you're going to see a level get hit like this. So
that's something really important to pay attention to. Bases of moves often represent a criteria. Under also bases as origins, right? Under what would be deep diving creates a base in the future. Very important to know because it starts to create the criteria of an origin on the time frames you're not looking at.
This is a perfect candidate. Now what we're going to do actually here, so we know that this isn't another level, we're actually going to even rewind this further. And we're going to make sure this isn't an hourly level, which it's not. There's an hourly level right here. So we can also mark this, and we're just going to go like this, and we'll mark it right.
What does this look like to you guys?
Hour, and we'll also check the 4 hour. Make sure there's nothing there, right?
Pop quiz. What does this look like?
There's obviously going to be no 12 hour there, so that's not going to exist.
Should be pretty easy.
A 1 hour level, you've
Something
got a
we recently
15-minute
learned.
level, and you've got 5-minute levels. Yeah, we're not going to go anywhere past that. So let's just speed up the time frame here. Let this play out. This is going to take a bit to get here. So maybe we'll just go to a 4 hour. Just let this kind of play out here. There we go. So you come to this
All right, that's the one.
And you've got a few different levels here that you're expecting to get respected. So you've got an hourly level right here, right? Which even if you were to break it down, you could have even trailed it to the 5-minute right here, the greediest point, and so forth and so forth. So you've got, you can constantly continue making this trail. And we'll go to the 15-minute level because that's the one that was actually hit. So you've got a 15-minute level here that was hit, and it goes through the level. So this is when you see a reverse level get created. This one.
And then here, even going further, you would just look at the other range that's tested to understand what's tested down in the next range. Again, not important for this example because we're just trying to show what a reverse level is, but this would not be considered a tested level in the grander scheme of things. And I wouldn't want to say that it's an untested level because I think that opens the door to making mistakes. So I don't really like using that term where you move through a level and say it's untested. I just kind of find the spot that makes sense and say this isn't tested yet. I don't like clarifying those as untested levels. I use very specific wording when I do that. I just say this level isn't tested yet. It's not a tested level. I don't like using that term, that specific wording, untested level there, because it kind of is a little counterintuitive.
We'll end up creating a kind of reverse level. So there's a difference between
deep diving with RA.
Right here. Oh, that's actually a perfect example. Say if a level is right here, right? So you've got a level here. It hits the level, bounces off instantly, right? So this was like a pretty good trade here. So it hits the level, bounces off instantly, 1%. That's not going to create a candidate for a reverse level. If you were in this moment here, this will just create a candidate for breaking a trend. So then you would have something
breaking
like
a trend, creating a ladder, seeing something higher time frame here.
Need to go to a larger time frame here, accumulation to accumulation like this.
It is almost impossible through these lessons to take away the exact thing that's happening because we aren't working top time frame down. The amount of things you're probably unlikely missing just because you're not working top time frame down, again, not conducive to teaching. The amount of things you're missing here would be like huge. So just keep that in mind.
And you want this to continue to hold this move and try to create some kind of laddering up and through this trend, or at a minimum come here and then hold the move again, and it'll create the move through the trend. Very very normal stuff.
And then testing that twice would just be the larger time frame hold,
we
right?
See hold level gets hit, goes through a trend, everything is tiggity boo, right? So that's your very standard hold level, right? This is how you're going to expect those to be hit. So let's fast forward a little bit here. Move goes down, hits its next level. This is now a candidate for a reverse level. Okay.
And it's actually on the hourly here, not the 15. You'd actually want to be looking at, you could actually use that 15 as well, but the hourly could then do it as well. Like you could use both.
Let's just take a look. The hourly rate here, which goes through, right? And let's go back to a larger time frame here. And you've got the 15-minute down here. So you would expect this hourly now to be a reverse level for the future. So we're going to delete the hourly. This first level here. Okay. We're going to delete this because that's already been used. This was the 1 hour level right there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It applies to trend signing.
Over time. And,
trends are levels, levels are trends. It's all the same.
Play here in the 1
data
minute
points.
candles.
They don't have different communication.
They
do,
the
but they have a different use case, not a different communication.
So really, the 15-minute here was the level to pay attention to. It's kind of what had started the move. It was the only level that was really worth marking out because everything else had kind of been back tested. So this is going to create.
And then here, you really ask the question, what was this really testing? Because you immediately move your eyes to the left and you can see it's testing something else in here. This could be a larger time frame for all we know. That's why I said it's impossible to create the perfect scenario here because we're not working time frame down. You're teaching a concept, and when you're doing that, you're not going into these nuances of what is this actually testing. You just have to kind of teach what it is first. But looking back at this, people have gone through this, and the first thing that comes to your mind is like, okay, what's it testing here? Where does that trail equate to here, right? Did we just test the front side of a 4 hour and actually we could ladder a little higher right here because that was the back side of the 4? Or is this indeed the next level? Like that's where you have to, you don't do your homework twice, and you don't mark the 15 to go up to the hourly and then go to the next range. Now you're doing your homework 3 times by going to the next range. Why we always follow that cue of working down and forward.
It's for reverse levels in the future,
or
hourly
up whatever direction you're going against it.
So what happens is when a level gets pushed through like this, it means that it can act as a hold level on this side of the chart. So this is what a reverse level is good for, because it will act as something that can hold the move on the front side of the chart. This here is just kind of a point that you need to get back over top of, not really something we're going to talk about here, but this is just like
think of that statement as higher time frame, right?
It's a hold level
as long as you're not hard
you just want to get back over top of. There's nothing really more to say than that. Hold levels from the past, you just want to get back over top of them, right?
Yeah.
So this
very simple, straightforward move on.
Where you need to get back up over this level to kind of stop distribution, right? You get back over that level. This level is kind of done here. That's it. The level's gone. You've gotten back over a hold level that has brought you there, and that can signal the end of distribution, right? So this will be a level from the past, right? As to where you could say, oh, this was tested. You can't use this. This should be the level. You can't. Like this technically would be the level that you'd use. You'd go to a 1 minute candle, or you'd go to a 3 minute here and say, oh, okay, this is the level here. You go to a 5 minute and say, that's the level. Really, it needs to hold that level. That's the greediest point, is that reverse level. So when you wick through a level like this, again, very different than hitting a level like you do right here and bouncing off of it. You hit a level, you try to hold it. That's the move. If that can't hold, the move is done. When you wick through a level like this, it becomes the hold level for the future. It's a reverse level, right? So let's just let this play here for a minute. I'm going to go to a 5 minute chart and see exactly what happens. Should go after this. It might not actually. It might never come back down to this price, but it should come down to this price in the future. So it has its trend. It actually might not come down to this level. Maybe we speed up the time frame here a little bit. I'm not really sure if it is going to come back down to this level. Well, I guess
I always do this stuff just live, so it's never kind of like
that's fine.
just let the sign speak for itself. You just do it live.
Even put that right there for now. Right there for now. Oh, you actually break right over top of trend. Okay, perfect. Right there, it goes after that level. Oh, okay. Actually, so it does hold that level. So that's not a good candidate for the reverse level. Well, it's a good candidate, but.
And here's where I would say make sure it's not testing the wick, right? Like make sure you have to go back into that time frame and you have to make sure it's not testing that wick.
It just
because it's not to say that this isn't testing, but for this lesson, it's you need to see if that's actually testing the level. And if it is testing the range, then it can still test the backside.
And hit the level. It actually ladders off of, I guess this was a 3-minute that we created. What was that? Maybe that was a 1-minute or a 15-minute. No, I guess that was just the greediest point in the trade, right? So that was just the 1 minute. Where did we create this one? Okay, so for whatever reason I created it there. I must be missing something here. 5-minute? Is it the 5-minute? Okay, yeah. So it's just the 5-minute point. Like it's just that kind of that 5-minute greedy point in the move there. So when you're in this trade, right? This would be the final hold level, and we're going to try to find something that actually goes after, because that didn't actually go after it in this trade. Unfortunate. I was hoping that one would be a good example. Okay, let's keep
I think
going.
you could also take another look at that reverse level to see if that was actually the right one, because it might not have been that time frame. You know, that's the hourly range, but there is also other things inside that hourly range. So I think this is a defect of moving up through time frames, like how we've done it in this lesson. I think there would actually be going back and looking at that exact moment in time. I think you'd actually have the cause to say, okay, let's double check that level to make sure it's not hit, because it's pretty close. Like it looks pretty close. I'm assuming there's something else in that range hit, and if that's true, instead of the hourly, if it was the 15 that was hit, I would wonder if there's a 15-minute interior piece to that was tested in that moment, and it created like a 15-minute floating level that was a reverse. That's kind of the first thing that immediately comes to my mind. It's too close to not be hitting that reverse level. Like it's hitting the level on the hourly because it's testing the wick through. But then now would be the question of saying, like, did it hit a 15? Because then you'd be looking for the 15-minute backside inside of that 1 hour range as the next reverse candidate, like following that trail, right? So that's a really important thing to realize there.
And another one. And that just hits a hold level right there, which is fine. Well, we need to go maybe to a little bit of a deeper time frame here. It actually does go after it again. So we were right. It did go after it. So let's go to here. Actually, let's back it up even a little further right here. So this is that kind of that point. So there's a few things happening here. A reverse level can be a few different things that happen. It can be the base of a.
And I would actually like to see how this lines up, because this actually looks like it lines up right on this grid where my cursor is, which means I wonder if this is testing the body and that backside can reverse it as the ladder point. So you really have to do your due diligence there, right? And then here you're creating an origin level as well. So like just looking back at this, origin level right here on the hourly, confirmed right there. So this will break the time frame larger, right? So if you start hard closing under this, it will break the move. And this is what could ladder the reverse to get back above what could be this. Kind of looks like this purple line. So we're just going to use this purple line. Imagine this purple line is just dragged straight to the left to the origin level. Slightly above this is the current reverse backside. So it could hit that reverse backside, try to hard close over the origin and then hold its move, or it could hit that backside, reverse, come to the origin, refuse to gain it, create the breakout down, right? Like those are the kind of things I would be looking at here now, deciding where the smart entry is. What's the next level to be tested? If we've gone this deep, a huge piece of this here is that's your origin level. So you know you can't hard close it, which means you know you can deep dive it.
A move, right? So you have an exact touch of a level. So let's say the level was right here, right? We'll just use this one, for example. Let's say the level's right here.
Yep.
It comes back
Exactly.
down over top of that level like this and creates the base of a move. That's a reverse level. So that's kind of scenario one. And that creates
That's exactly what we just talked about. I just went deeper in the chart with it right here.
Like this origin level point. But that's why when you hit this level, it's going after that reverse level, right? So that's that base of the move. Scenario two would be, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. Scenario two is it goes straight through the level and then it comes back and holds it in the future. So that reverse level acts as a hold level for the future.
I think you're just
right?
looking at the
Which
origin
can do
here.
a few different things. It can be what creates your ladder. So ladder one, ladder two, right? So it can create your ladder there. It could also go through it and then come back over top of it and hold, which creates the base of the move, which is also ladder one, ladder two, or ladder one, ladder two.
So then here, you would be testing this, and the backside be a reverse, right? Depending on what's developed here, CA wise, what's developed there, that could be a reverse.
Same ladder. So that's the other scenario it can create.
At this point down here, you have this level here. It already went through and tested something deep, giving you your daily hold level there. So then
and let's go to a small time.
Oh yes, I agree. I see how do your due diligence, how things have changed. Yes, absolutely.
So it's right there. See? So that's that reverse level, which actually ends up acting as a final hold in a move, right? So when you think about hold levels and what's the greediest point in the move, when you wick through a level like that you're supposed to hold, that ends up being the greediest point in a move, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Actually being your greedy hold, which also gives you your final hold, final.
You go through it,
right?
You call it a reverse level because your eyes have to look backwards.
So if you're actually to go to here now
you're creating an interior trend. This will try to create a float.
You could say it's here. Don't really like that as much, but you could say it's there. More realistically, you'd say it's here.
As a float right there.
Trends to more.
Excuse me.
This is
been up since 3 a.m.
Close to being tested there, the range, but really you can decide between one of those two levels. I guess this looks a little better since this range is kind of, it's pretty close to being tested. So I guess this looks a little better right here.
On the higher time frame float, the 1 minute here is going to be very limited.
This would actually be, final hold of the move. You break this, you lose the move. Yeah, this is a little better there. So
that's where I would say,
right?
I wonder if this still laddered the move because it back tested the next level it was supposed to.
You do lose the move, right? So
curious to see what it looks like when we go higher time frame.
This is quite a bit actually here. You would have gotten liquidated on this if you would have been buying this level. So when you do lose this, really, yeah, it's a choice between these two. But when you lose this, like the move is done, right? And so you can see where the move does get completed. So
we need to see that higher time frame to see if our kind of hypothesis was correct here about which level was tested.
Right. Delete this. There's your trend. Trend ends up holding. So interestingly enough, trend ends up holding through. So you don't hard close trend here, which is an amazing thing, right? Actually, this one, we don't need this anymore either. So this actually ends up as that final hold, like we were discussing in the past. If you don't hard close this final hold level, which is the reverse level on this move, you actually don't lose the move. So it's really interesting.
It didn't ladder
reverse levels, they create.
It didn't ladder it. So that'll polarize the move.
Hidden points of greed. So in the past, like what we had learned about in the past was, oh, okay, here's a 1 minute part of the move. And that's great inside the move when it's there. But then you have this other realm of possibilities that happen, or this other realm of scenarios that happen where it's
hard to tell here. I see because we're not able to kind of go through the time frames to see what's created. So it's kind of hard to tell.
But then for some reason comes back up.
Because it could be a 3 or 5 anywhere along that chain of
that happens
handles. It's impossible to tell
that
here.
Gets created when a reverse level is made. So let's just play this through for a minute. Right. So there's that hold level gets held there. And then you've got kind of this here, which is, I don't know, maybe. Okay, so we're on 3 minute candles. Actually, I might not have marked the right spot here. So actually, I didn't mark the right spot. You would be somewhere between these.
That 1 minute just dumped to the higher time frame and dive the trend.
There's
no way to tell if that 1 minute can hold it there.
So that final kind of so let's zoom in here. This is that final moment hold. You hit that level, you lose it. You start hard closing these, you move down again. That's that final level of greed. So actually, In fact,
And this is laddering above the reverse. That's why this can be considered there, right? You could go down and hard close it based on a higher criteria, but this had already broken the ladder. So I could see it if you could go down and re-ladder this again. Like if there was a set of 3 levels there, maybe like a front side, a back side, and then also a higher time frame hold. And there's like, you could kind of create this trail of 3 ladder points inside of a range from before, but here it doesn't look like it's
this is the
possible.
real hold level, right?
No real way to
this is
tell,
the
but
real
it
hold
doesn't look
level.
like
And
it's
this was
possible to me.
created because of the
Well, we know it's not possible
criteria
because the move
in the
broke. Doesn't,
past.
it's not
It's
even that
not
it
always
looks
going to
possible.
be this when you
Not.
reach a hold. There's always going to be a different.
As soon as you break this here, you're still testing down into whatever range. Like this broke. This guy here, this broke that previous ladder point. So clearly you're still just moving down and testing further into that range. So now you'd have to ladder off of whatever this tested in order to create that. So this might have tested like a 15-minute level on the other side, and this might, I don't know. We can't tell because we can't move back that far.
Did I hit a hold level, bounce off, or did I create a reverse level? And when you create a reverse level,
what I think is obvious about this is it invalidates whatever this
like this, you do create that kind of final piece. That
we didn't go back far enough. There's one level that kind of you know manages. Is it this one here? Oh, maybe no. I think there's one more level back here somewhere, but it's above this point, so it's somewhere like this. So whatever that was testing, you have to understand that that might have been testing the backside. This could test the front side of that same range, which would kind of invalidate this, and then you'd have to go up and hold like that 15. I think that's a possibility there, without being able to see. I also think that this is just testing a different range completely. So you're not using reverse levels if you have no ladder point there. Like if your previous candle went down to here, and you have to kind of ladder above that to test the next reverse level. I think whatever that was testing here, you know, you go down here and then you break below it with this ladder point. Like clearly you're not creating that architecture for a ladder at that point. So whatever this was testing, you are not building architecture off of it. Rather, you're saying I'm moving down in the move. What did that test? And then what would be the next level? So you kind of almost have to kind of ignore this other one that was here, like exit out.
I guess you could call it a hidden hold level. I call them hidden levels or reverse levels or hidden levels. This is like a hidden level. And so when you lose that, fine, you've created trend, you hard close trend. The second you hard close this trend, yeah, you move down another, 1.6% from the moment you hard close trend. So even if you saw this trend hard close because you understood what the reverse level was in this, you saw the trend hard close, even if you didn't get up from up here, even
in hindsight, this 15-minute reverse absolutely looks active to me because it had trouble regaining it. Now you could say that this is a backside test right here, like testing the backside on that. Like this could just simply be the body of the 1 hour candle. We're on 1 minute candles here, but this really looks like you lost that 15-minute reverse. You were trying to regain it off of some other deeper ladder test, and then you lost that part of the move.
2 minutes in the move and you've made 1%. And then, I don't know, I guess, but maybe however long this is here from this point here. I can't even see that. 15 to 37. So 22 minutes and you made close to 2%, right? So then, what level did this go after? So it's really interesting when you wick through a level that you're not supposed to, it kind of changes the architecture of the whole entire chart, right? So, what we're going to do now, actually, we're just going to look at the next level it went after and see what was next. So you can see how this is kind of like an interior trend that was created. Like you kind of have two interior trends here, right? You kind of have this one here like this, which is just
I buy reverse levels all the time, George.
the normalized trend. I guess this would be what everybody marks, and really it's fine to have it, and I'm sure it gives you some information, but really what kind of good information does it give you? Like does it give you useful information? Well, no, because if you're buying that trend, you probably, you would have gotten liquidated. You're really close. I guess if you market stopped out, you would have. If you didn't market stop, you wouldn't have. But if you did market stop, you would have. Alternatively, you bought 40% cheaper because you understood the reverse level. And there might even be actually, what we can do is look inside of here and just make sure there's nothing even greedier. I don't think so. I think that 15-minute here is good to use. You could dissect timeframes, but that 15-minute is pretty clear to me that's holding up the range there. So maybe that's an experience thing for me that I can see that. But, really, so you have this interior trend here, it doesn't really do much for you, does it? Oh, it's holding up the move, but there's a reverse level candidate here. So it's not really going to hold up the move. It's going to go after that reverse level to see if it can hold the move, right? So
here would be a good example, George. Here's the level right here, reverse, right? Pretty decent entry right there. So that wouldn't be a tested level. So seems like first touch would be the best choice. It is, absolutely. But I wouldn't use that word first touch. I'd use first test. First touch, I think, is misleading. I don't like, is it touching the level? Sure. It's moving right through it. It's touching a lot of levels. Is it testing that level? No, I don't think this is being tested yet at this moment. Right. So that's, I think, maybe where that difference is.
I think you've got a different set of criteria there that's being developed instead. So now let's look at this down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like this. And we're going to see what level it could have possibly went after down here. So we'll start with this 4, but that's kind of tested, right? So you know what, we're going to kind of just go through the trail here. So that's kind of, you know, backside 1 hour tested. All that's a little not so clean here, but this is a good level. This looks pretty decent. There's a level that holds it up here. You can see back here, the 15-minute went after some kind of range inside of here, ladders it to the backside here that gets laddered off of there. So that's tested on the 15. And then you've got this, and it's fine. So you have a kind of a pseudo test here, but it's a pretty clean level. There's a pretty clear break there. So then you can go inside of here and say, you know, the 5-minute was tested there. Maybe you could be here if you wanted to get really greedy on the move.
Of a disconnected level,
but mark this as a 5, right? Mark this as a 15. We're not really changing the colors here. I'm kind of doing it sometimes, but not really. You could go to the 3 here. Yeah, okay, so you get a little greedier by $6 or $7 or $8 by the looks of it, $8 and change here. You get a little bit greedier on the 3 minutes. You have nothing there. What about the 1 minute? Do you have like a clear 1 minute trail? So actually, anyways, this would be the distribution candle here, 1 minute there. You could get really greedy and go after this. Don't really know if that's going to get hit, but hey, you could see which level gets hit. Really, to me, it looks kind of like the 15 is supposed to be what's holding it here. So let's go take a look and see what actually holds it here between. And I think this first one is a 4 hour, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 4 hour. So
interesting to see what happens.
We can pull a lot of information off of which level gets hit can tell us what's happening next, and kind of looking at these reverse levels. So let's see what happens here. You lose your reverse level there, you lose trend. And this is that point where if you hadn't bought that 15,
there's that 15.
You're not going and rebuying it again.
No.
So
why would you?
The 4 hours
it's already
here,
tested.
I'm sure some people
the wick body is already tested. Why would you?
Here.
Run by the wick, by the body, by the combo ring
right?
inside the 15.
You're not going back down here and saying, "Oh, let's test $4 shorter." No, like this thing is distributing in a big way because it lost one of these hidden levels. It lost a pretty important point in the chart. And you're not going to go and say, "Okay, well, 1209.61. This thing just dropped 2%, but it missed my target by what is this? 4?
I just wanted to see what happens. I'm going to read your message here. I see. Was such a big dump. Did it ever combo test like reverse plus flavor of a backside? So I think when you're talking about reverse levels, like I'm trying to make sure I understand your question here. Maybe I should read the whole thing first. A flavor of backside, hence understanding the bigger move possibly. Yeah, you can for sure. I mean, so they here, this 15-minute would be a perfect example where let's assume that 11:230, that blue, or sorry, that yellow line there. Let's assume that's the wick. 1209 is the body. To understand where it can go, you could definitely use a combo level here. Right? You could definitely use a combo level. Maybe 11:230. Yeah, like you can always use combo levels. Like 11:230 could be the wick of that 15. And then the 5 may indeed be at 11:20, but the body of the 15 is at 11:209 with nothing else underneath it. So then you'd be comboed on the 15 to the 5. So yeah, absolutely you can. And yes, I like that you pointed that out. You mean the first touch versus first testing? Yeah, I think that's that linguistically, that is kind of a big standout point in my mind. Like, oh, first touch, like it's touching a candle. Linguistically, that means it's had friction to it, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's testing that level. So like I think there's a pretty big linguistic difference there, if that makes sense.
$4 or $5, what's the low? 14.50 versus 09. We'll just call it 09.50. So you missed it by $5.
Touching on a level and testing a level is a pretty
like
important
$2, like 11
difference there,
or something like that. So you missed your trade by $3. There is
you touch levels all the time, all over the place. You go through levels like crazy. It doesn't really give us anything.
If anything, you'd want to buy this level.
It's in the replays, Chris.
The reverse, right? So this 4 hour could be the candidate as a reverse.
And I go over it in butterfly effect too.
But I'm not sold on that yet, because we are still we're 3-4 minutes into the chart. Let's just kind of go candle by candle here and dissect what this thing is doing. Okay, so we're trying to hold this 4 hour range. We know a 4 hour range needs to hold. It could hold for 12 hours. So there's no need to say like, you look at 4 hour hold levels, and sometimes it takes 2 and 3 candles closing over top of a 4 hour hold level to finally break whatever trend brought it there and say, okay, this makes sense. Actually, I would rather buy this level right here in this trade right here. This is a little greedier, and it actually does get hit. It is a kind of its own reverse level of a different criteria, right? But we're 10 minutes into this trade. There's no, or 11 minutes, I guess, or 12 minutes, 11 minutes. Yeah, 11 minutes into this trade. There's no reason to go and say like, oh, we have to buy this right now. Like instead, you'd be going after a much greedier part of this range, right? So there would be your 4 hour reverse. But again, you're like 12 minutes into a trade that could need 12 hours. So this is very premature. And so your 5 minute gets hit. And great, we don't have a candidate for a reverse level yet. Your 5 minute would have gotten hit. You front run this at 1177. What did this go down to? 1180. That's perfect front run, like 1180 and 50 cents or 51 cents or something like that. Maybe like denominator like 51, 52, 53 or 01, 02, 03 are great, because on BitMEX they only go by 50-cent denominations. So sometimes you get choked up on these $half denominations. Like you saw on BitMEX, you have,
I don't know if they've ever changed
$1,
that.
$1.50, $2, $2.50.
MEX has always been like that. It's annoying.
You can't set like $3.54. You either set $3.50 or you set $4. So
it's annoying because you have to sit in a queue on BitMEX. Like if this was 1180 and 50 cents, it's like first come first serve for 50 cents, or you're buying the next denominator up. And if people are buying that, you're in a queue. You can't just, I always hated that about MEX.
Is like the $half denomination is smart, right? So yeah, this would have
not important for today, but I just never liked that.
Perfectly. And even right here, right? Here's another spot where it's like, okay, perfect trade. There's no candidate for reverse levels here. No candidate. This could be a candidate for a reverse level, and this might have even went up.
If it pushes through the higher time frame, it can be a candidate.
Like the greediest point in the trade, if there is even a
if it makes sense on a different time frame, it can be.
Which actually could be what wicked through on this reverse level. So it actually could be this as a reverse level that got hit.
God, it's impossible to do this here because you're using time frame wrong. Like you're doing work up.
Actually, perfect.
It's just like there's no point working up through time frames. It's so pointless.
Time in the future, that's a good candidate for a reverse level.
You just get into scenarios like this where you're just starting to do like guessing games and just like, oh, hopefully it's this one. Like you can't do work up. You can't.
This right here. What's the level from back here?
See how I'm trying to find what it's testing?
Right here, not really. Like this might have been what held.
So then this isn't a reverse level.
A good candidate for a reverse
Maybe there's a 15 minute inside of that range. How could you ever tell though when you're such a small time frame?
Right? So if anything,
right? Like how could you tell? All you're doing is hoping you land on a 5 or a 15 here at the body.
Point. So actually that was perfect. So that was a good candidate for a reverse level because it didn't respect the level and it did go right through.
Let's see what happens here.
Oh my God. So that's where you can see there's a hold level that's supposed to be hit. It goes through the hold level.
So this can be candidate for a reverse level, but again, like talk about striking gold. How many times you gotten into a trade where you mark something and you're like, yeah, I struck gold on this one. I must know what I'm doing. Like this is, while I'm not saying that this 1 minute level is inaccurate, what I'm saying is like you have to do the same chart you just did. You're just gonna have to redo again from a different time frame. And every time you have to move up one time frame, you just might as well re-click reset, because unless you're doing it from high time frame down, like what's the point here? You're just redoing all the work. So yeah, okay, we pin the tail on the donkey here perfectly, but again, like it's not to say the 1 minute is accurate, but it's just to say like how much did you miss?
But then comes back over top
Yeah.
of it, because you have two scenarios on hold levels. You either
I hate working up in
hit the
time
hold
frames
level,
for this reason.
right? Or
Repetitive work,
like,
doing the
so
same
actually,
thing
I
over
shouldn't
for no
circle it.
reason.
I should do this. You either
And you
hit
can
the
just
hold level
define and
bounce,
narrow it down to these
creating
moments
your new
faster.
greediest point, or you go through it, and then instead of going up to this level, you have the original hold level here, which is a reverse level, right? So that's like the perfect point right there, where you've gone and you've said, okay, like, look, here's the greediest point in the move. So we're going to mark this as the greediest point in the move. What could be the next? What can we do with this one to make it like the greediest point? We'll just do this and we'll make it like a dash line. Actually, we can just write greediest, I suppose. Greediest, okay? So then when we look at this on the bigger picture, we know that the reverse level can be the ladder point. So ladder, ladder, ladder. Can this hold? Yes. Is it a good spot? Yes. But if it doesn't, there's still the reverse level, which will ladder the move. And that's why it happens like that, which also in the other scenario, it works like this: hold level, break over top, base of a move off of a reverse.
Now you're looking at an origin. Be very clear about that now. Base of a move, you're looking at an interior origin somewhere that was formed.
You see? So reverse levels become the greediest hidden points in trades. So when you have a hold level that goes
screaming
through,
wrecks
wicks down, comes back
into
up, you do have
higher
these
time frame. What
as
happened is
candidates for
higher
hold
time
levels.
frame. What was a base created an
They
origin.
work flawlessly, as you can see. I don't
Screaming that. I don't even have to go into the charts to see that. You can already see it.
Hold level. Look at that trade. It's perfect, right? But it's also because it's.
Wish I had these timestamps. I can't really time that. I mean, I could go find this and find the level, but that's kind of just like
one of the reasons why this is so perfect is because it does confirm ladder, 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 right? So it just creates a new
11.3. Let's find it. Right here. August 2020. That sounds about right. 11.330. 11.055. These are 1 minute candles. I'm never going to be able to see this. Got to be around here. It's got to be this one. Yeah. Right here. Knew it. I could even be further back again, just making mistakes right out of the gate because you're just in the wrong time frame. Like even I'm still doing it right now. There. Is possibly the origin. Daily, weekly. Still making mistakes, not charging the right time frames. Even come back down and test this. Crushes the move. Of course, and then that's what holds it down, right? Which then creates just the actual breakout point in the future, like what was actually tested, right? So it can't be this 4 hour because you break over that 4 hour, right? So it is indeed the daily here. Breaks over that, breaks out, right? That was that right there. This is, anyways, not important, but glad I could find that very quickly. Sometimes I go mad trying to find these things.
It creates a new set of hold levels, a new set of criteria. It doesn't break the ladder of the move, which means it's still technically an accumulation. It's still technically moving up. And it creates the greediest point that's hidden in a trade. So what happens after this? Yeah, see, like it's 1.8% in a few minutes. Like that's
just testing.
Pretty nutty.
There's no way it's not. There's no way it's back testing that. So it's trying to create a larger time frame hold.
6 minutes, almost 2%. That's quite crazy. And so why is it holding this?
Seen a lot of those origins
in the past. We just said, oh, it can ladder off any point. So we've talked a bit about this, but not, showing these kind of points like this. Like
move dependence, I want to say I see. Although I will say whatever breaks the move can support the move kind of thing. But it would really be saying it's move dependent here. That
the
would be a very
latter, which
broad
is still
statement.
accumulation, because it's actually
That would
not
be the very quick
breaking
answer to knowing what
backwards
may
through
or
its
may not be
move, right?
accurate.
Well, now you have reverse levels. So reverse levels show you, or we can even call them hidden levels. Reverse levels, hidden levels. It's the same thing. You can call it a hidden level, reverse, whatever helps you make sense. I call them reverse levels, and half the time I call them hidden levels.
See, and so that's something really important. Like I'm sitting here saying it's a reverse level, it's a hidden level. I don't know, call it whatever you want. It's just the idea behind reverse levels was always the fact that it's just that it's not, here is a hold level. It could be kind of like a smoking level where you go take a break, right? Like, no, it's not to be mistaken where it's called a hold level because it holds the move. Call it a hold level, call it a hidden level. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. You're just looking in that area. That's something important to realize. It never really had a hard set defined criteria for this reason, that it was never, I never developed it as something. It was just, call it hidden level if you want, call it a reverse level. I don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as you understand what it's conceptually representing, it never really gets its own name anyways.
But those give you those points where, instead of
And to
randomly
find points on the
deciding,
chart with the
there's a
timestamp,
wick
can be
here,
such a pain sometimes.
sorry, there's the body of a candle here, which what we talked about in the past. Oh, there's a body of a candle. Let's buy
Something
that.
I've
There's
thought about when
a couple
other videos
dollars by the wick. Let's
when it was
buy
before
that.
you
Well,
were able to change time frames.
almost every single time a hidden level
helps to hear you explain that. Yeah, absolutely.
Reverse level. See,
it's just like doing your homework over and over. Like, why? You know what I mean?
Reverse level means that it's reversed on the other side of the chart. So that's why I call it reverse. But then you have the perfect point here, which gives you that new criteria. Again, all that does is create your new trend, right? So it creates some interior trend and
God, that has to be. Oh, I already took it off the chart, did I? That's how you know if it's, you want to make air quotes and you say right or wrong. If you have the wrong information marked, it's not going to pan out the way you think it will. Mark this as a 4. Mark this as a 4. Although theoretically this would be incorrect because it's within the daily time frame. Go here on the chart, it's incorrect. See, 4-hour break is right there. When something doesn't line up, always know that you've made a mistake. Daily time frame, no hard close. Next time frame, going after this level right here, anywhere from here to here. Goes through the level, tests deeper in the range, reverses the level. So whenever something doesn't line up, realize you're the one who made the mistake. That's pretty important to see. Like that 4-hour makes it clear there. And if you find something, you're like, but it looks like an origin. Looks like, the base of a move. And then you see the time frame hard close. You're like, well, how come it didn't move up? It's because you made a mistake, right? So just that's really important to realize. Deeper in this range. Could even say that before we go there, let's not be boneheads and let's actually do our work properly. Can it be a reverse level? Yeah, it can. Not really. It's tested right there. Right here could have been. That's the reverse. Can't really be a reverse level here. Any origins that we see? No origins. And here, yeah, that's testing deeper in that range. So it could indeed come back to test here or here. This would be your first reverse level. I wouldn't even consider that there, just due to the fact that this is breaking. So do your time frame work. Like that's always critical. This be a reverse level? No, not really. You're testing next. This kind of combination here to here, like whatever that is. So whatever this reversed here, what chain of events makes sense? Test in the range, reverse the level, go to the next piece of the move because it's disconnected there from that daily by the nature of those candles. All lines up perfectly. Just really important thing to be aware. Like it's always just user error, right? Like that's just create a 4-hour and it broke. Oh, what happened? You just missed the time. That's all. Very simple. So like a really good thing to do and go back when you're trying to refine your own skill set is if something isn't lining up, say, okay, hold on a second, slow down, a high time frame. What did I miss? Let's just redo this all over again, right? And then you'll get your answer as long as you know how to find it.
you're like this right here.
There's no random things. Nothing in these charts are random.
Your new break point, your new this, your new that. It creates all this criteria that you can work forward through. It creates a new hold level.
It's safe to say reverse levels do create origins.
I think it's a very
of
a move if this is reversed.
No,
where it's like this hold
hold
level.
on.
So
I think, like, is it safe to say reverse levels do create origins? No, that's not safe to say because that's not necessarily the criteria, although that happens often. I would say there's a very shared commonality there that whenever I see a level reversed, I'm always looking for an origin. But that doesn't necessarily mean all reverses create origins, but a lot of the times when a level is under the criteria of being reversible, then there's typically an origin point in that move that was gone after, did the quote unquote deep dive, right? No random things. Teams should put their charts in the same time zone altogether. Easy to reference each other's chart.
you can find that reverse level and see where it is.
Great
and
tip.
that can be the base of a move, which shows you like that's going to be
the hold level that broke
your trend right
out.
here that holds up the base of the
that
move.
would be the
because
latter
then
point,
this creates like
which
the
would
base
be
right here,
interior
right?
trend.
Base right here. That's now a base of a move because it
Now
actually
you're
hits
talking
the
about
level,
trend work.
breaks and holds it, and then goes after it again. Now you've got a base. Alternatively, breaks through, well, it does it right here, but I can't draw it there. It breaks through the level, comes back and holds it over. This is a reverse level, right? So that it's the same level that's being hit, and they're both creating ladder points, ladder here, or supposedly here or here. These interior trends, bases and hidden levels, and how they form give you a different piece of architecture for the chart going forward, right? Again, just to summarize it one last time, because it's kind of a mind wrap. Because of the chart architecture, it does have a different outcome. Outcome number one goes through.
Now, this is such a mind wrap because of the amount of possibilities you're starting to
hits it,
compound on top of each other here.
Holds. This could be holding a second reverse level down here, or it could be holding a ladder point off of a larger time frame, making this the base of the move in the future, meaning that this is the break.
Now, when we say second, just to make sure this is very clear, we don't mean it's testing one first and then second, like first, second, and a queue of testing down reverse level. Let's just make sure that's not misunderstood. We just mean second as this is the first one we marked, this is the second one we marked, not a queue of one test to the two tests, right?
Point that holds up the ladder, right? So again, the base represents the range. The hidden level represents the buy spot on the base, and the reverse level is also represented or the reverse of the hidden levels also represented at that same point, but it doesn't create a base when it does that. So if it goes through first and then touches it, let's delete these brushstrokes. If it goes through first, right, goes through the move first and then touches it, this is the ladder, okay? This is the hidden level or the reverse level of the move that breaks down but still confirms accumulation. So that's a ladder, right? This, and then this is a base. This holds up the range. This ladders the move. So a little different because this breaks, you break all the ranges that bring you there, right? That's the base of the move. The base of the move breaks. It breaks the range. The reverse level creates the trend, which is the ladder, which is possibly going after a different reverse level in the future or a different point on a bigger time frame. Maybe you have something here, right? Like, yeah, maybe you have something there, like a really good level. And I don't think we can see this anymore. A good example of this would be there is a level at 10,720. We can't see it anymore, but it is a hell of a 1 minute candle. It was the 1 minute candle off the big part of this move here. This likely is where this target is going in the future. We're going to go to 10,720, create this trend for the future, and create a super long-term pitch where we're likely staying at this somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 for a long period of time. That's kind of my assumption of what's going to happen. Now we have to see what's actually going to happen in the future. But anywho, this would not be the candidate for a reverse level. You wouldn't go back here and say, oh, there was a level right here. Oh, actually, maybe, funny enough, maybe 10,720 is actually a reverse level back here too. 10,720, possibly this is a reverse level back here too. That's interesting because 10,720 was the 1 minute, which creates the greediest point in the future, which actually may indeed be a reverse level from the past. So that would be an interesting exercise to go and do back and look through your timeframes to see if there's actually a level. We'll just quickly check the 15. I'm pretty curious now. Let's look at that. There's actually a reverse level at 10,720, but there's actually a 1 minute greedy point here. And we don't think we can see this anymore. but I still have it marked. Oh, yes, we can. So that's it right there. I'm surprised we can still see that. 10-7-20 was the just good memory, right? Because I remember these things. So I always need to know the notice of a
10-7-20 was actually a historical moment in the charts. Not that it has anything to do with butterfly effect too, but 10-7-20 is probably one of the most historical moments in the Bitcoin chart. Very hidden reasons. You can't access the time frame anymore, but always remember 10-7-20 for Bitcoin, because this is a historical moment for Bitcoin. This price specifically 10-7-20 on perp Binance, USDT perp Binance. 10-7-20 in the future is like, don't be shocked if one day Bitcoin dumps and for some reason it stops at this random 10-7-20 number. This is or even 10-800, maybe the top of the wick test here. For reasons I won't get into, this is and I've never said this before about Bitcoin. Maybe another historical moment is 64,600, because that was, the first top after the biggest run it's ever had. Well, the highest price, it wasn't actually the biggest run, because the biggest runs actually happened earlier in its life. But 10-7-20, always remember that number. It's a very, very historical number. And then if it gets hit in the future, we'll come back and maybe I'll explain why. But this is extremely important for Bitcoin. Very cool.
This actually could indeed be a reverse level too. So the fact that it's a one
time stamped in history and time, 10-7-20
from the past. So whatever this is here, that could be a reverse level that ladders the future of the move, right? So if you come down here in the future, this is very different, a 1 minute hold, but in this scenario, it's actually a reverse level. So I actually didn't realize it's both. Anyway, the important thing here is that had this 1 minute not been there,
be a cool Easter egg for the future.
That would have
maybe in 5 years, if Bitcoin goes to that price,
it is a reverse level that can ladder the move, right?
Be the true time traveler.
I guess originally the point I was trying to make before realizing it was a reverse
only time
level
in mentorship of 5 years that I've said that word historical
could actually be
moment.
here down at 10.5. So if this fails, you would probably want to buy this if this is a level, or there could be a level in here. Wherever that level is in here, there's probably some level inside of here that would act as the reverse level to this move. This is different though. This is the base of a move now. You see, that's different because if this creates... So I'm going to give a scenario that we're not going to go look at. This is a greedy hold level of some type, right? Chart comes here. Let's go here. Hits that greedy hold level, bounces as it's supposed to. In the future, then goes and wicks through it. This is the base of a move, right? That's the base of a move right here. So this could be a buy spot. This could be a reverse level, right? So what level gets hit in the future can have a very big effect, because if this breaks, it's going to break down a large piece of this chart, as opposed to a reverse level being hit is just going to create a new ladder point, right? So interesting to see how this is going to unfold, because you know what? I hadn't actually looked back here to see if, you know what? We're going to do it, because now I'm curious as to actually what got hit here. It could even be something from the past, but we're going to start right here anyways and see if there's something here that got hit a greedy level right here. Actually, $11 right there. Okay. And there's our 10-7-20 level. So this gets hit. That goes after that. I wonder if this 11 gets hit again in the future then. This will be really interesting to actually go in and see what happens here. I haven't done this work on this chart yet. Let's just take the replayer tool off and see if that actually does get hit. So that 1100 level right here, where is it? Where did we create it? No, it's 10-720 is our first level, right? Where's that 1100 level? Did it not mark on my chart? I thought it was 1100. There's 720. There's 627. Okay, that's what we marked, was 627. I see. I just had my chart zoomed in, so I couldn't see the real price. Let's go back and mark the 1 minute here. And let's make sure there's not a backside as well. That's the first thing I want to do. So I'm going to mark that, and then I'm going to go to a higher time frame. And I'm going to take a look at this back here and make sure something larger wasn't hit. That's a valley on a bigger time frame, because that's also a possibility right here, but I doubt it. I don't think you've got this on a higher time frame. No, I don't think so. You'd have to go on the MEX chart and actually see, because we don't have that information on Binance. Let's take the replayer tool off here. Yeah, you actually don't. So this is a good candidate for a reverse level, 10.6. 10.6 is actually a really good candidate for a reverse level in the future. 10.72 might be the first bounce, come down to 10.6, and it moves up. And while most people were saying, oh, it's just, the greedy point, well, we have a reverse level right here. And I would back test this on MEX, because the unfortunate thing about Binance is that we don't have that information. So,
oh, how quickly that changed, where we don't use MEX anymore and now we use Binance.
Everything. You've got the start of the valley right here, right? We're just going to go to the weekly actually to start. Just holding backside, possibly even here. Okay, we're current actually in the move right now. Right? Oh, replayer tool, get off. Let's take a look at this on XBT's chart as well. 10.4 hold level. That gets it there. Replayer. Nothing. Nothing. You can see it's testing something right there. Base of the move. So it's actually the base of a move, not a reverse level. So that's the difference. Base of a move bounces off perfectly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to a 4-hour chart. Base of a move. Okay. Base of a move. Reverse level, 10.6 buy in the future again. That's going to be the base of the move in the future. It's thin, but it's there. Let's go to a 4-hour. So 10.720 might actually, oh, see?
Looks kind of like a base. Yep. Good
perfect.
call, I see.
Reverse level. See? I thought we didn't hit that yet again, but that's the perfect buy for this level, because it is that reverse level, see, which is the base of the move now. It wasn't actually the...
You see, George, reverse levels. You buy these reverse levels.
The reverse level.
You just have to know which one to buy. It's not
straight through like this. It actually creates the base of
the
move.
Like that's a hard one to buy.
I'm glad I did this on MEX, because I hadn't actually done this work back to here. Now, actually, what could be another candidate for a reverse level is this right here. See how you wick through? And look at this. You hold it. It's perfect because you did wick through it. That's candidate for a reverse level. This one here, candidate for a reverse level. Wick through, hold the level, right? So you can see where when you wick through a level, this is actually perfect.
On the next one is working too as a reverse.
Through a level, that can be the candidate for a reverse level.
Right here.
This here, let's see how that...
Missed that one. Being tested right there.
Works. This is a little less clean, but
this one
level, right? Well, you actually held the level right here. So that's fine. The level is tested right here. This is not candidate for a reverse level. This is just the whole level got hit. It broke down to something else.
I think, George, like the thing is you have to...
Come on.
I think you're right by saying they're not safe, because they're really hard to identify, because you are using a lot of moving components. So like, I think it's okay to say that it's not safe to buy them and that it's not comfortable, because you know what? You don't always have to catch knives in these markets to make that kind of money that you want to make. You don't always have to catch knives. Like they're high risk, high reward moments where if you have a really good set of knowledge and you're really deep into this thing and you can see where these, kind of some of these reverse points exist, they can become really great buy spots. But like, you also introduce a certain amount of risk with them. So, I mean, then we use RA to defer that, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to say reverse levels. You should, if you were to tell me I don't like buying reverse levels, I would say that's perfectly fine. You don't have to use reverse levels to make money in these markets, and they can be quite risky. So, I think there's kind of a balance there, because as a trader, we all kind of make our preference and style in the way that we like. You know what I mean? Like there's not only one way to trade these markets. There's many ways to trade these markets, and there's many different ways to make money. And sometimes the more important piece of that is managing your risk. So, more above finding perfect levels, what is more important than that is managing your risk, which then completely offsets, should I buy reverse level, yes or no? If it's not risk manageable, then absolutely not. You see what I mean? So like, I think there's a more important question to ask there, and you don't necessarily need to buy reverse levels. They become great spots. Yeah, when the risk doesn't, when the risk profiling makes sense, they become great spots. Outside of that, they're volatile.
Wicks completely through the move, reverse level.
Like the rebuy strategy we're allowing. I do too. Especially on 100x, like the rebuy strategy is a lot easier than the knife catch. I had knife catch on lower leverage like that sometimes.
Right there. So this MEX chart actually really cleared up this and tied it together super nicely, because you can see when you wick through a move like that, the reverse level is what you should be buying in the future. Every single time, perfect. Wick through it, reverse level. Wick through it, reverse level. Wick through it, reverse level. Bounce off of it, fall through it, right? Big difference there. Here you go. Bounce off of it, fall through it. The level was there. It got bought, supported, and tested as it should. Whether it's here or here, it's the same range, because remember, this is the range of the 4 hour, and this is a limited.
I think that's a really important thing for people to always remember, is that creating a strategy to create profits is more important than trying to be an all-star trader. Like, there's many ways to make markets, many levels you can buy, many things you can master, but creating a strategy that allows you to continuously be successful is got to be the first consideration in any trade you take. Like, what is my strategy to make money? I think is the question everybody has to constantly ask themselves before just trying to buy levels. Like, what is my making money strategy, right?
Sight, because these are just 4 hour candles, but it's still very accurate. Tested, goes up, doesn't wick through like crazy, right? Here's another one.
I also think it's perfectly acceptable to say, I understand reverse levels and I would never buy one, but it's important for me to know what it's testing so I can understand the logical trail. I think you could easily take that stance, even me as cotton candy TA, to say, I understand reverse levels. Yes, they're perfect buying spots, but I never buy reverse levels. Now, that's not true. I buy reverse levels, but I think it's perfectly acceptable to say I will never buy a reverse level, but I use them to understand the trail of data. So I think that's also important to realize, that not just because it's on the chart doesn't mean it's a buy spot or a short spot, like buy or sell spot, right? Sometimes these can be really great targets for a current trade that you're in. Sometimes they can simply be the missing pieces of data that allow you to connect the future pieces to make your strategy stronger. So, just because they're on the chart, that doesn't mean they're, great spots. Now, I like reverse levels. I do buy reverse levels, but I don't buy them every single time. I analyze reverse levels. I'm like, okay, how obvious is this one? How likely am I to get smoked on this? Yeah, this one looks good. Okay, I think I might try it. Like, it would be perfectly acceptable to never buy a reverse level in your life, but to always mark them, to have that data again, to give you those pieces of that puzzle. Like, a puzzle without the edges is not complete, or a puzzle without the corners looks kind of funny, right?
Tested, goes up, breaks down.
What is my strategy to make money here? Insightful. Reverse level is 15 minutes hold. It could be 15 minutes on the other side, just a normal 15-minute. Be a target via CA, or do reverse levels have to be different?
Through it. It's not going to sit there and say, oh, here's wick through this level like crazy. Well, kind of does a little bit here.
They don't really
I wouldn't
different.
consider that. I wouldn't consider
beautiful thing about
like,
the science is the data kind of communicates
it does actually
an exact. So there's not really like, oh, it's different. You know what I mean?
I wonder if there's any other ones here. No, this is kind of, yeah, okay, so there's one right there. Even though it's limited in sight, wicks through, now it's the hold level. You see? Wicked through there, now it's the hold level, breaks down. Where's another one? Right here, but again, tests, breaks down, reverse level for the future right here, because it wicks right through the level that it's supposed to hold. That ends up being the perfect candidate for the reverse level. So yeah, I really like this lesson on reverse levels. I'm glad I came to this BitMEX chart, because this really cleared it up, and these 4 hour candles really help understand that as you work through time frames, you can see the stronger parts of reverse levels and the weaker parts of reverse levels. And I hadn't actually seen where this level had dumped to. This is the first time I've actually found it, but that makes a lot of sense because again, it's the reverse level that can ladder the move, right? So now you have this, right? So now you have that, and then just like we said before, here's the next reverse level, and
Wonder where the float would be there.
so forth and so forth and so forth, right?
That's it. Big studio applause. Butterfly effect is done. Pat yourself on the back. Congratulations, everybody. It has been a hell of a ride on Butterfly Effect Mentorship. Something I will likely never do ever again. And we move on to Butterfly Effect 2 Mentorship.